Present. Sheriff Demont.
Here.
Lori Musser.
Here.
Christopher Saul.
Here.
Okay.
Are you able to get in?
All right. If you guys can please stand and join me for the pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm in.
You're in?
I made it in.
Okay, well,
So-
you have to follow it in here, I guess.
Is it in?
I think it's first. That's what it is.
My site can't be reached.
Mr. Pitcher, can you,
You're right.
are you in, Jennifer?
Yep, I'm
Okay,
in.
I'm in.
I'm in.
Norm's now in?
I'm in.
Okay. As we're waiting for that, let's go ahead and look and see. First item, are there any corrections, changes to the agenda that, as you see it? Anybody? If no, I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved. Second.
So Jennifer moved, Deb second. Okay, please vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, okay, that motion passes. First up, Board President's Report, celebrations. We have a number of them. First celebration, though, I want to say is for the audience here. We have added a second screen, hopefully closer to you guys so that you can see what we have presented up here. Yes, sir.
And it will be moved over on that wall,
Okay,
so people won't have to turn like we that are close to this wall.
Yep. So
It'll be set over there.
we want to make your experience here a little bit better, and hopefully you can hear the audio coming through back there as well. So we're making efforts to try to improve your time here, so I appreciate that. We have a couple of things that have just occurred this week, or actually last week. We did have receive as a gift from the class of 1954. We got a bronze eagle for the Rose Garden at the high school. And that came to us. Tamco Building Products presented a check for $25,000 to the class to finish off the fundraising. And a local artist, John Fowler, actually created that and unveiled it and donated a good portion of his time as well. Feel free to see that the next time you're over at the high school. Sarah Peterson was a National Merit semifinalist, one of 7 students from the Southwest Missouri area that's been announced as a semifinalist for the 2017 National Merit Scholarship. I think across the country there's 1,600 students that meet that criteria. The final scholarships winners will be announced in April of 2017. We had elementary schools had Grandparents' Day 2 weeks ago. While I happened to be gone, and my son's grandmother got to come, so that was great. Students at Kelsey Norman, Eastmoreland, Cecil Floyd all had events. Soaring Heights had a read-in. There were cookies, ice cream social, and a few other things. And then the Parents as Teachers group had a group connection on September 13th at Memorial Education Center. It represented 24 families and 51 kids coming in, learning on pre-math and social skills through the use of blocks. So trying to connect at an earlier age. And then one other one, the Dads with Donuts. Kelsey Norman had 230 students bring their parents in with the Donuts with Dads on September 15th. 230 is a lot. So,
A lot of donuts.
Yeah, we're helping out the community there. So that's all I've got for the celebrations. Let's go on to the committee reports. Policy Committee.
We met and we have policies on the agenda for review, first time in, second readings.
Okay. For the Data Analysis Committee, we've got a meeting set for Thursday at 5. So we'll have a report to bring back with us the next time. Finance, salary, benefits.
We had a really good meeting. Several teachers and staff members came for us to talk about the insurance if we wanted to extend to the 12/15. Paul did a great job of explaining it all to them, and unanimously they decided it was worth the cost in order to provide the extra coverage in case of catastrophic things. And it also did not increase their premium that had already been set into their premium. So once they found out it wasn't going to increase any premiums, then they were in favor of it.
Okay.
And pretty excited about the telemedicine.
Yeah.
And we appreciate Brandon Webb and his staff, Human Resources, pulling that meeting together of the Employee Insurance Committee to, and it was kind of a joint meeting, so
Right.
for understanding, September 13. And I think he's going to plan future meetings as warranted throughout the year.
Just a word of caution, I was there, the employees as well as the retiree are nervous about any kind of increases in their benefits, so, I mean, cost, so.
So it's good to have them included in the decision-making process, so that's great.
And one thing I'll add about a future meeting that I'll schedule with the Board Finance, Benefits, and Salary Committee, and that is, we have a CPA Review Committee meeting scheduled for October 6th to look at a couple of items that need to be reviewed, and following that meeting, I'll bring the results of that CPA review group that we put together and line up a meeting with the Board Finance, Benefits, and Salary Committee between October 6th and I'm not sure if we'll get it in ahead of the October meeting, but following that as we can schedule.
Okay.
What we're going to be looking at there, by the way, is start to establish some assumptions that we need to have a conversation with the board about, as far as where does the board want us to go with the budget, and then eventually in January, solidify that with goals, and everything is scheduled around that, budgeted around that. So it's it's a response to the strategic plan. And so, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine. And
That's what that's all about.
that's an important item. The second item at that meeting will be a review of what you'll see later in this meeting with the financial statements. I'm going to put up a proposed payment plan for the Bank of America lease purchase. Emphasis on proposed that we'll talk about with the board between now and February. And the CPA Review Committee is going to take a look at that proposal also and comment back to the Board Finance Committee as to what their thoughts are on that proposal. But there'll be no action on it tonight, of course. We're just trying to educate and understand between now and February,
What time is that meeting on the 6th?
4:30.
4:30?
Great. Thanks, Paul. Safety Committee meeting?
We haven't had a meeting. We are meeting Thursday, October 13th.
Right.
They have, though, been doing their drills. Jim's got a couple goals he's working on. He started a frequently asked questions site. And then a separate committee is going to meet to look at the intruder notifications on the phone. We currently have two different systems
Right.
being used, one at the high school, one at a middle school, and a couple of elementaries. So a separate committee will look at both of those and consider any others to see what we want to go with.
Good.
Okay, great. All right, move on to the superintendent's data report.
Basically, what I want to introduce, first of all, is the foundation. We have 3 people here that want to say a word or two with the board. That foundation meets monthly, and believe me, the conversation there is always entertaining, if I could say it that way. But they do get things done. So they want to have a conversation with you that'll take no more than 2 minutes.
All right.
That's what I've been assured. I've been assured. Okay. Speak into the mic, though, so everybody can hear you.
Okay, my name is Gloria Turner, and I'm the current president of the foundation board this year. And we're here, and we appreciate the opportunity to talk to you a little bit about the mission of the board, the foundation, and some of the past things that we've accomplished and what we have in store for this year and the future. I'd like to first tell you the names of the people that are serving right now on the board: Barbara Cox, Josh Dietar, Scott Arisman, Lynn Heppen, Bo Lee, Gail McAllister, Sarah Newman, Susan Satterley, Don Swanson, and Kim Woodard. Kim is going to talk to you first a little bit about our mission and some of the things that we have accomplished.
I'm not going to guarantee the 2 minutes because oftentimes we refer to ourselves as the best kept secret in Joplin. So this we see as an opportunity to explain to you a little bit about what we do and who we are. We are a board that's comprised of community members, many of whom have sat in these chairs. We kind of laugh sometimes and say that's where old school board members go. So be prepared, we may call you at any given time. We are a not-for-profit organization, and we are funded by endowments, charitable donations, and by fundraisers. Our big fundraiser for the year is the Major Saver Cards, and we are getting ready to kick that off 1st of October, so we encourage you and the community to purchase those cards because we put the money to good use. Some of the things that we do. Every year, we take care of administrating scholarships, some of those being endowment scholarships. Those are awarded to Joplin High School seniors. We also financially give a financial award to the Teacher of the Year and also the non-certified staff member of the year. Projects are brought to us throughout the year that we make decisions on whether we choose to fund or can fund or not fund. We always have a big project that we're working on. In the early 1980s, the first project that this group took on was to put computer labs in every elementary school. Now, that may not seem like much, but back then it was a daunting task. Now we have computers in every classroom, and in some schools we have them in the hands of every student. But back then it was a huge accomplishment for our group. We then went on to enhance our school libraries. We took them from a substandard status to a standard of excellence. And then a project that you might be more familiar with is our snack pack program. We started that, and we have funded it ever since its inception. We kind of consider ourselves as an incubator, and we have since passed that project on to Bright Futures, but we do still financially support it. Another thing that I would like to mention before we go on is that after the tornado, our group oversaw the charitable donations that were given to the district for the rebuilding of the schools. Those monies exceeded over $5 million. Many of those funds were designated to go to specific places, specific projects, to certain classrooms, and we made sure that those funds were allocated and distributed as the giver had designated. Our treasurer, Lynn Hempen, did an excellent job in making sure that we had a good financial report, and I know that she worked real well with Paul Barr's office in doing so. So tonight we're really excited to bring you our new project, and I'm going to turn it over to Barbara Cox, and she's going to explain that to you.
Okay, here's where the 2-minute limit comes in.
Now it starts to.
And Paul has his watch out, so. Well, I'm very excited to tell you about our project, and it is a grant project for teachers, nurses, counselors, groups of teachers, departments, all sorts of educators within our district. And it will be a $2,000 grant per level. So there would be up to $2,000 for elementary, middle school, and high school. And what we are looking at are things that are innovative, especially creative, and go beyond what the district can financially support. One caveat to that is these grants must align with what the district goals are, the standards, and our current curriculum. Cannot supplant, and we don't want people to splinter off out there into outer space land, but we want it to be very tightly aligned. And I'm really excited about it because you can see lots of different ways this could be used. We could see maybe perhaps a group of 4th grade teachers that want to take their students on a field trip that we aren't currently able to do, but they could go to the Discovery Center down in Arkansas, all types of things. You could have a science lab in a classroom that needs extra materials. Just a number of things. Counselors could bring people in for special speakers. There's just a variety of things. So I personally am very, very excited about the prospects, and I'm anxious to see it grow. Now let me take the second minute and tell you about the process. So the first step is the teacher or group of teachers or cross-curricular groups are going to come up with an idea. They're going to put their pencil to the paper and present it to their principal. That educational leader will go over it and make sure that it coordinates with the curriculum in the right way. After that, if there's a technology piece to it, it's going to go to Eric, and he's going to check and make sure that the district can support that piece of technology. And if all things are still a go, it's going to go to the superintendent. And Dr. Ritter or a Dr. Ritter look-alike will put his stamp of approval on it. And then it'll come to the foundation board. And we hope to have several that we can go forward. And There'll be 3, and all 3 of those they'll need to have their applications in by January the 20th, and we'll award it in the spring. So, pretty exciting.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
We'd just like to
Outstanding.
add that we all know teachers or educators or other staff personnel that go above and beyond spending money out of their own pockets trying to enhance things in their classrooms or do things extra special for their students. So this was one way we were looking for a way to say thank you and to help the teachers a little bit this time.
No, it's a great idea. Thank you so
Thank
much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And we will see you in front of the principals on the...
Wednesday.
Yep, Wednesday, next Wednesday.
Thank you.
Same message, right? All right. Thank you. Excellent. Summer school, we thought we'd give you some data as far as summer school. This will be quick and easy. Go ahead, Jennifer.
We had an outstanding summer school. We had excellent leaders who were in charge of that, and I thank them for their amazing work. They really did an outstanding job in handling everything. So those leaders were Dan Hewler and Greg Boyd handled the high school grade levels. Josh Flora handled middle school. Teresa Adams was our lead elementary principal, and she was primarily at Soaring Heights. Brenda Olds was at Irving, and then Amanda Boyer handled our Jump Start that was located at McKinley Elementary. So again, they really did an outstanding job. They were very much on top of things and just very pleased with the work that they did. So I really want to give them major kudos for that. As far as enrollment, we currently ended the year last year with 7,548 students enrolled in Joplin schools. Out of those, we had 1,432 students total attend summer school with all grade levels. Kindergarten, that's our Jump Start kindergarten, we had a total of 212 students that attended. As far as how that was broken out, Soaring Heights had 40, Irving had 70, and then McKinley had 102 there, located there. Elementary, when you combine all grade levels, 1st through 5th grade, we had a total of 596 students that attended in the elementary level. And then in the middle school level, we had 139 students that attended and enrolled. And then at the high school level, 485 students were enrolled. Part of the high school does include students who took classes for credit in weights, but we had a lot more students who attended for weights, but we cannot count those in our summer school attendance because they're not taking it for a credit. They're taking it, as they continue to prepare for their season. So that's just a pretty quick overview for you of where we were. Like I said, it was a very smooth summer school. It was wonderful. We didn't have any. I didn't have one complaint this year. It was great.
Do you have an idea, attendance, is it up from last year or down?
And I apologize to you. I did not get
Go
that
back
number,
to-
but I will send that to you first thing in the morning. So
Want to keep track if we're...
if I went off my memory, I'd say yours about the same. But I don't want to give you a definite answer on that without checking that firmly, and then I'll send that first thing to all of you tomorrow morning.
Perfect.
Can I ask Jennifer,
Yes.
in our policy committee, we looked at the policy for, is it 3rd graders or 4th graders
Yes.
that were required if they were below grade level? Did we get all of those students?
We monitored that and again, our principals at each of the elementary schools, 11 elementary schools did a great job of monitoring that. They touched base with me on making sure they were following the proper protocol, sending the letters out, informing parents. We did have a few who chose not to attend. They were informed of the situation and what the law states, and but I would say I believe we had about 98%. I think it was 2 students, if I remember correctly, that did not. And part of that is because you have students who may visit another parent in the summer, and that, I will tell you, on those 2 cases, that was the situation. It wasn't that they were refusing to attend summer school. It was that type of situation. We encouraged them to have the other parent send them to summer school wherever they were going, and we could count that. And so we did offer that opportunity.
Is there a plan to work with those kids then?
We
bring them up to grade level?
continue, obviously, we're going to put interventions for those students, continue to work with them because retention at that age is a very difficult thing, although state law says that's what we have to do if they don't attend. But yes, they were, and again, we talked about, getting third graders there so that hopefully by the time we got to fourth grade, we wouldn't even have to be in that situation. We did have our third graders attending as well based upon that. So it was good.
Good.
Good report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, then we have health and dental care report.
Right, we have the report included in your packet, and also, as Dr. Fort mentioned, we have an action item later on the agenda for the reinsurance policy that relates to the health and dental program. It's an annual policy that the Employee Health Insurance Committee considered along with the Board Finance Committee September 13th, so we'll be bringing that to you later in the agenda.
I would just want to highlight one thing. We had a staff member, Becky England, go to every site during the open enrollment period, and I thought that was really, I know teachers really enjoyed having her there and helped inform, so that was a good deal. Okay. Any questions? All right, let's go to financial statements. Paul?
Yes, financial statements are also included in today's packet, and if there's any questions, I'd be glad to answer those. I did want to take this information item, it's a non-action, to touch base with the board on the, go back to last spring where the board extended the Bank of America agreement for short-term financing to be the backbone up until that financing is due to be paid off June 1 of 17. But because our FEMA obligations that are approved obligations, we're going through the closeout procedure now while they go through and make sure we're meeting all the regs, and then issuing the balance money to us once we pass muster on those closeout reviews. This financing was needed to pay off the construction until these monies came in, because FEMA reimburses, those monies come to you on a reimbursement basis. So we extended that agreement with Bank of America in the spring of 16. It comes due and be paid in full in June 1 of 17, and you'll see a snapshot where we're at today on that September 1st. And the key word there at the top is proposed payment plan. It's not adopted. We're not asking for any action tonight. We're kind of have an eye toward February to have a good understanding and a direction from the board as to where to go, and perhaps adopt action in February with our financial advisors. George K. Baum will be working with us to as we approach this. More immediately, it's one of two items that we mentioned just a few minutes ago that the CPA Review Committee will be looking at when we meet October 6th to see what that committee thinks about this proposed plan to pay down this debt from currently $15 million down to zero. But starting at the top there, you can see that that's the balance as of September 1. We have an equipment grant that will be coming in of $1 million. That's that EDA funding we received several years ago for Franklin Tech economic development equipment. We have current FEMA obligations. This is where FEMA's obligated funds are looking at our closeout. There's no special request by us for these funds. This is not errors and omissions money. These are just run-of-the-mill obligations that they expect to pay if we submit the right documentation, as we have on other projects I've reported to you. We get back a high percentage, 98, 99% of those obligations come back paid in full. So we expect that much in terms of current project obligations. The state, at the end of receiving, as you see that footnote on the right side there, we should receive those monies, $8.6 million, as FEMA closes out each project. They do a project at a time, so it's kind of a long process, but we're patient. The SEMA obligations of 10% has a different footnote. The state will not release its 10% until the last FEMA project is closed out. I wish they would parallel.
We tried to, yeah.
I wish they would parallel with the feds. As they close out Project A, they would release their 10% for A, but they keep their whole 10% until the last of 40 or 70 projects close out, unfortunately. So working on down, there'll be a balance that's not covered by those first three line items of about $2.3 million. I've got three footnotes there. As you read the footnotes, you will see we've talked about the board doing a longer-term financing back in May and July of 14. We put that long-term financing to the side because we went this short-term financing route to try to get reimbursements, and we've been paying down those short-term financing for a couple of years. Again, this will be all discussed with the various committees and eventually with the board as we approach February. Footnote 2, that's basically what I'm saying there. Talking with George K. Baum about what kind of a lease could we do as we approach this June 1 payoff, assuming all those FEMA obligations don't come through by next spring. And I'd say 50-50 is probably the best case scenario that they all come through. I would, to be conservative about it, I would expect the board should, I don't see that state 10% coming through. I don't see all the FEMA projects being settled and paid to us by February. I may, they would surprise me if they would, but that 2.3 million for whatever's not collected by that spring date, I'm saying sometime in February, we would be looking internally at our funds or a longer term financing of 5 to 7 years with working with BOM to do a lease purchase to put in something more intermediate, longer term than the short term piece we've been doing. That'll be a board discussion. And then what we're going to ask BOM to do there is, if you're going to build us a 5 to 7 year financing term, and we know we're going to have proceeds coming in, the month, the 6 months, 8 months after we do this deal, and it's maybe a 5-year financing, make it very flexible so that as the money comes in, we can pay it down, save interest, and not have a 3 or 5 year wait to pay it down. Let's bring us some good terms, so we can pay over the funds we collect, because, but we have to prepare. That's the purpose of mentioning this tonight to the board and to the CPA review committee. We have to prepare for the June 1, 17 date, and have a plan or 2 plans in place, whatever you want to develop, as eventualities develop as collections come in, and the calendar moves toward that February date. I think BOM had asked for about 90 days to prepare. If we have board action in February, give them 90 days to go out to the market, seek out banks that want to work with us on a 5 to 7 year possible longer term lease with flexible terms to pay down as we collect.
If that money comes in between February and June, are we out funds to BOM for the preparations that they did?
Well, we can. I think any work we hire a professional for, we're going to be committed to. We can't. But we can also try to, the way I would approach them to say, if the board acts in February, you have 90 days, I would ask them to get everything ready, commit as little as possible as you can. If monies that come in, say in March, or as late as you can without committing the whole, pulling the trigger on the whole deal. But once they incur professional fees, they're payable. Okay. But I would ask them to do it wisely and try to allow us to consider March receipts. But the biggest help there is if let's just say we get a receipt, we do a deal June 1 of 17 for 7 years, and 2 months later we get $1 million obligation paid us. Well, really, you hate to finance for 2 months, but we're going to take that $1 million with the right terms and pay it down immediately, so we're just out the 2 months of interest, that sort of thing. But so that's just to let you know what the CPA Review Committee is going to be looking at October 6th, and the Finance, Benefits, and Salary Committee will be looking at following, and this board will be talking about leading up to February. So I just want to give you a heads up. Other questions? Or
with the FEMA errors and omissions, the first submission, we got a ping backwards.
Right, we had 20 questions that we answered the other day.
What was the time between submission and?
It was the May 5th submission, I believe, and just last,
okay.
well, 30 days, or
okay. So
30 days ago, so that was that time frame.
It's not terrible. How many of those final errors and omissions did we send out?
We have 7 potential projects that may be in that category.
And was this the first one submitted
right.
fully? And it's, okay,
right.
so.
And as you see in that footnote number 5, None of those monies are on this chart.
Right,
I mean,
right. This is just the obligated.
These are obligated. We're not making any special requests. We're answering questions. We're churning through their review process. So that's a good thing to keep in mind, that those other monies that we're asking for expanded scope and making a request of FEMA to correct and relook at some of their work out of fairness, and we think
Right.
that those are separate and apart.
It will
from
help this, but we're not planning on it.
Well, we'll help anything.
Okay,
But
sure.
We're not planning on for this.
Yeah.
But Paul, as we continue to pursue these aerial missions, are we paying somebody to pursue those, or are we answering those questions ourselves?
We are, with the help, limited help from Whit O'Brien, who's been with us the whole time, and so we are accessing them on a very high level, only as needed basis. But, you know, we don't want to drop the ball at the end by maybe not answering correctly or fully when they're the experts that brought it. We've learned a lot. We don't ask them the things we know, but the things that, especially on Arizona Missions, first time through for us for these 7 projects, we want them at our side.
Yeah, they've been there before, and successful.
And so they're very, very consistent, high-level assistance. which we're-
And they still feel eventually we're going to recoup some of this?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
We think they're valid
Pretty
claims,
confident.
and they say the same.
And is that appeal at the state level right now, or is it at the federal level now?
That May 5th one's that
The Arizona
the
missions.
feds have reviewed it and answered, they corresponded back with us directly.
Okay.
And we've answered their first 20 question set, and I think well, I don't want to say when we'll hear back, but it's, if they asked 20 questions and we responded, you would hope it wouldn't be too much longer.
Right. Well, and my next question is going to be on submissions 2 through 7. When were they, and when's 4 months from that? I mean.
I'll give you a report in a future
That's
board
fine.
meeting, but you're going to, hopefully, we can learn from maybe time cycle from this first
Right.
round. But I wanted to separate that from this so that the public and everybody would know the demarcation.
Sure.
But have we submitted all 7
Yes,
requests?
we have.
Okay.
That was, by May.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Okay. No public comments. Okay. Consent agenda. There being no questions or move, I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
One question on
Yes,
bus
ma'am.
routes. Are those different than last year?
Dave? Did you hear the question?
I did not.
Are the bus routes different than last year?
There will be some minor changes as we looked at efficiencies and also students that were attending.
Okay.
But generally speaking, those routes should be,
Not big changes.
there should not be any large changes. Those should be fairly typical for what
Okay.
we've done in the past.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks.
Now, are these the extended timed routes that started in January? Is that?
No, they
No.
started, I think what he's asking is full-time.
Full-time
Moving
routes?
Well, these are all the typical routes. What we did is designate the 30 longest
Okay.
routes as those full-time positions in an effort
Okay.
to get the amount of hours that we needed to incur, then
Just did
along
that,
with the
yeah.
trips
Okay.
that we'll be taking.
Just did that.
Yeah. Okay.
Dave, is any driver still having to double up, or are we getting in a position now hiring people that we're not having to do that?
We are 10 drivers deficit at this point in
So
time.
we still need more people?
We still need more people. I have 4 in training currently and did more job interviews last week.
It's better than 18 down.
Do what, ma'am?
So it's better than 18 down.
It's better than 18. We are headed in the right
Moving in the
direction.
right direction.
So we're 10 after what we approved tonight?
Do what now?
We're 10 down after what we approved tonight?
Yes, ma'am, we are still
still
10,
need-
Okay.
10 deficit. We'll have 10 routes. I have a couple of drivers whose last day will be this Friday, and so after Friday, I will be a full 10 routes. So we will have to take whatever means necessary, and we are still having to continue to double up some of those routes in an effort to get those students home in a safe manner, but not as timely as we would like to do.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Pettit.
Thank you.
I move we accept the consent agenda as presented.
All right. Motion by Linda, second by
Second.
Sherrick. No further discussion, please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay, that motion passes. Next item, accounts payable. Paul.
sir.
Yes, we have before you tonight the accounts payable to cover items of materials, equipment, services, salaries, and benefits in both instructional and support areas. The alignment is listed there in terms of communicate district data, district financial and budget data, and systemic and balanced deployment of resources. The data itself is the accounts payable listing we're asking you to approve. Stakeholder voice payments do result from applying the system effort to build the original budget on the front end, and then we apply the board education purchasing policy for a lot of what you see in the bill list packet to attain the best pricing for goods and services. Administration recommends the board approve payment of bills in the amount of $9,281,487.56.
Okay.
So moved.
Sure.
Second.
Moved. Linda, second. Questions?
I have a couple questions, Paul. We are paying $91,707 to Missouri Southern Bookstore for textbooks. Are those on dual credit classes? Are those for something? I mean, I'm thrilled that we're getting textbooks. I'm just wondering, a lot, and are those for certain?
Let me see if if you point me to the page that's on, I'll take a look and see if I can answer that for you.
I didn't print off the page.
Okay.
I was going through it.
Is it dual credit? Thank you,
For dual
Jennifer.
credit classes? Okay. I just wanted to make sure. And then there is a travel for a Mo case. I just was wondering where that was. Is that, it's Mark.
Mark Barlis was at
Yeah.
Mo-Case.
Where was that? I just was curious where that.
That was it. Where was Mo-Case at?
Was,
Tantera.
okay, so it wasn't out of state or anything?
Nope.
And then, just curious, when the athletic directors travel, just because we paid some travel on them, do they take their own personal vehicles or do they take district vehicles?
I think it's...
Both, really.
I think both, yeah. It depends on what's available and what works out for whoever they're traveling with.
Most of the time when they go to games, they're taking the district vehicle.
Well, that's what I wondered. There just was some travel reimbursement. I was just curious if they take their own.
Depends on
They go both
availability.
ways.
I think both as needed or as available.
Okay, because I know we have those, the Suburbans
Right.
and stuff. And then last question, there was a Wi-Fi charge for AT&T for buses, and actually somebody asked me this week about it. How many of our buses are Wi-Fi enabled, and is that an additional cost
Come on.
under?
Is it 4?
Under our district plan cover it, or is that like per bus?
How much is it under the AT&T in
It
the
was like
building?
300 and something, but it didn't say how many buses, if that was for
Okay,
all of our
$300 to
buses.
AT&T?
Mhm.
Would you know that, Dave?
We have 6 buses
6.
that have Wi-Fi,
Okay.
and my understanding, and Eric may be able to assist, but they have dual receivers. That's why we're paying 2 different companies. But,
Those are the travel buses.
Those are the travel buses, and we set it up to where if we ever purchase new buses and make those travel buses, that's portable to put that Wi-Fi and move it to the new buses.
Okay, so it's not covered like under our district plan, that's an additional cost.
It's under the technology budget.
Yeah, but.
As far as phones.
But they're charging us extra, so like I would imagine the district has a plan that for our Wi-Fi or whatever. So the buses are separate, we pay additional for the buses, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And that's about $300 for all 6 of those buses, or is that covers all 6?
Per period, I think the period covers like three months, 4 months.
Okay. But that $300 would cover all 6 buses? Okay.
I'm pretty sure. I'll double check on that though and get it back.
Okay. Like I said, somebody oddly had asked me, and so it just struck me, and so there was an opportune time to
Yep.
ask. All right.
Any
those are my
further
questions. Thank you.
questions? All right, Sherrick moved, Linda second. Please vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, that motion passes. Thank you, Paul. Next item, non-resident tuition.
Yes, thank you. This is an annual item, and as it's set out there, it's to be charged for non-residents, which we have a few inquiries every year, not too many. especially given the amount of what we have to charge, people that don't live in our district and pay taxes if they want to come here and inquire. This is the Dessia County regulations that is guidance provided to arrive at this amount of tuition for non-resident requests. No cost to us to extend this. It's just but the board is asked every year to adopt it based on the ending financial statements for last year, so that the board recommends administration recommends the board approve tuition for this current year in the amount of $6,815.
All right.
So moved.
Second.
Sherrick moved, Chris second. Discussion? Please vote.
Yes.
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 If
Okay.
people on that item, I was going to add, if they do have, if they live out of district, but if they happen to have property they own, a laundromat or a rental house in the district that pay property taxes, that does go against the total billed
Okay.
amount. So,
That's good enough.
Yeah, that's how Web City has it too.
All right.
good.
Thank you, Paul. That motion passes. Next item, renewal of the employee health and reinsurance.
I just want to remind the board that we're taking a different approach on action items. I don't know if you noticed that.
I have.
And you can see it on the wall. And I need to tell you who started this whole thing, and that was my secretary over there.
Okay.
And she was just listening to all the questions and the organization, and then trying to streamline all of our thinking and trying to get information to you as a board, but also to the community. And so this is a new approach.
Good job, Pat.
Yep.
And so I think Pat hit the ball out of the park. And so we need feedback as we go, but you're going to see that this one has a lot of data in it, as will the next one, okay? So I just want to give you a heads up and let you know that.
Very nice.
So.
Ties it together.
And we may walk through it, okay? So Paul.
sure. As mentioned in the committee reports, the Board Finance, Benefits, and Salary Committee was represented at the Employee Health Committee, Health Insurance Committee meeting September 13, and they are noted here as a review group for this item. They actually started when they met with the August presentation to the board, which the board voted in August meeting to table that 7-0 and brought it to the Employee Committee meeting. So this is changed a little bit from what you saw in August with the work we did September 13, but pertinent facts is listed. You've seen that before. Alignment relates to Joplin Schools recruitment, developing quality, retaining quality staff, communicate district financial and budget data information. The data is what you've seen before. There was 13 carriers for insurance were contacted for this bid. Companion Life is the current carrier based on 895 plan members. This covers two kinds of insurance: specific insurance for the individual that gets very, very sick in a year. The district health plan pays a $200,000 deductible in those cases. The second kind of coverage that this buys is aggregate coverage, which covers our whole group, our group as a whole. If we exceed a very large level, down in data point number 5, if we exceed 6.6 million, this policy we're recommending this evening would pay the first dollar beyond that. That's not accessed. I believe we've only used that once in my career, but it's with the years we've had lately and Affordable Care Act and all, we're kind of knocking on that door, so it's highly recommended we retain it. Let's see, the data point number 6 received a lot of discussion at the committee meeting, as it did at the prior board meeting. And the committee discussion was led by Healthcare Solution Group, our third-party administrator, experts in this area, who kind of walked the committee through what that reinsurance piece is about. That 15-month limit, again, is having 3 months after the end of the health year, which ends September 30, having October, November, December for the system for a sick individual in August or September who goes in the hospital for a 20-day stay, for the hospital system, all the doctors, anesthesiologists, everybody to get their bills out to us to pay Healthcare Solution Group, and Healthcare Solution Group to deliberately process all those high-dollar claim bills that are very complicated. That's the nature of that kind of an inpatient stay, and get it paid within within that extra 90-day window that the Employee Health Committee recommended we purchase. And after much discussion about that and understanding gained by the committee members, late in the conversation, Aaron Woods with Healthcare Solution Group, the question came up, how many of your clients have this 15-month to pay type coverage? And he said virtually all of them have it. So, you know, it's been thought by a lot of people in doing what we're doing with our health plan that it's good to have that. Basically, if you had the cut off of 12 months to pay it inside September 30, what you're basically doing is buying 10 months of coverage, because you're probably not going to get that hospital and all the docs and us to process and have a clean claim that starts August 1 or August 15. It's going to be hard to get those in the batch. So really, you're buying probably 10 months of coverage versus 12. So I would say, my guess would be that's why most companies are buying that extra 3 months.
So do we have experience yet with this last year?
This is the first one.
Well, it's coming up here September
Yeah,
30. I don't think we're probably going to hit it this year, but
I mean, you talked about the aggregate attachment point. You've hit it once in your career.
Yeah, once in my-
Have we hit individuals?
I don't think we're going to hit one, and this year we're just ending. It's not quite over, but yes, we have hit individuals. I'd say in the last 10 years, I'm going to guess we may have had as many as, seems like every third year we have one or two. So I'd say we probably had 6 to 7 claims in the last 10 years. And I'd kind of compare it to, this is just me, not the committee. We talked about a lot of things.
Sure.
But if you don't have a car claim or a homeowner's claim in a year, do you, on your $120,000 home, do you say, I'll just call in, I just want $100,000 insurance because I didn't need it last year, so I'll save some money and I'll just insure 80% of it, or because I was lucky this year and didn't have a claim, I'll take my deductible from $1,000 up to $10,000. I'm feeling lucky again. So it's kind of you're really kind of in this risk business for the long picture, knowing you might have 3 years of random good experience, followed by 2 to 3 years of bad experience. That's just the random nature of fate.
We also have the 200,000 attachment point. If costs are going up, is 200,000 the right point, or does that need to grow?
Well, we talk about that every year. We ask what the market's doing for a group our size with our experience, and we're told 200. I think it used to be 100 years ago, and 150. We graduated it, but right now we're advised that it's a good place at 200,000. So the committee, they banded this about very well and very thoroughly with Healthcare Solution Group's leadership. And with the bids accumulated, they recommended the companion life bid. Stakeholder voice, again, is the Employee Health Plan Committee we've been discussing, as well as representation by the Board of Education, Finance, Benefits, and Salary Committee. Recommendation is the Board of and the second point that got a lot of discussion at the meeting was already mentioned here tonight. If we buy this, if the board approves this $435,000 policy, will the rates go up, the health plan rates? The answer is no. What the board adopted May 10th, the rates adopted then, will sustain this policy because it's very close or slightly under the cost of the current policy. So that rolls right in very well. So when the committee heard that, they collective sigh of relief. So the administration recommends the board accept the proposed 12/15 renewal quote for the employee health plan reinsurance with companion life effective October 1 of 16 for an annual premium of $435,314, subject to annual enrollment changes of a few people as of October 1.
Okay. Questions?
Make that motion that we
All right.
accept it.
Motion by Deb, second by Lori.
So Deb, you feel like this was,
Yeah, the staff members that were there, once it was all explained, and especially once they learned their premium wasn't going to go up, then they were unanimously in favor of it.
Yeah,
So
I
I
think-
feel confident.
I think we all
since
agreed to
they
go
were in
with the
favor.
committee's decision. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so please vote.
yes?
yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes,
Thank
okay, motion passes. Thank you, sir. Next up, professional development plan, first reading.
Yes, Steve, come on up, and Jennifer. Basically, what we are going to do from now on, this is really year 3 of a plan that was approved 3 years ago.
That's correct.
2 years ago, something like that. I feel, and we learned this last April in our board training, that this should be something that's approved by the board every year. So what we're going to do is we're going to give you, and really it's a major shift from the plan that was in place.
Yes.
It's a movement of monies from central office to the sites. So when we had the team meeting, Steve led that meeting, they were expecting just to approve carte blanche what came from central office. And we dealt them a different card, and they were really surprised. And so really what we're looking at, when you look at the vision of the district, there's 3 words in there that are really critical: engage, empower, and high expectations. And really 4, opportunity. Those 4 words are there, and really that's what we're doing, is we're pushing that. And so Steve led that conversation. So what you see in your packet now is the first reading on that plan, and then when we come back next time, we'll have reactions from the district, from the sites, basically coming to that team, and eventually come back to the board with that. So that's what the plan is. So you guys want to go ahead and share with us more?
Sure. I'm just going to kind of give you the basic outline that you see there, and then I'm going to turn it over to Steve, since he's done an outstanding job of leading the JPDT team. And I really want to give kudos to that entire team, because they worked very, very hard. And one of the things we talked about at the beginning of the school year was their role was changing dramatically in what they had done. And after going through and reading what the requirements were at the beginning of the year, when I looked through that, I went and said, hey guys, there's a lot more that you all should be doing, and here's what this states and how we need to approach this. And so Steve and his team, they've just really worked very hard on that, and I appreciate that. Dr. Ritter already spoke to the fact that this is the 3rd and final year of the current plan that was voted on several years back. And it does include 5 sections that you see there. All of those sections are sections that are required by the state, that we are required to take hold of. And so those you see listed there: state mandates and regulations for professional learning, the professional development team, who their members are and their bylaws, the professional development budget, and that is the 1% money that the state gives us, Joplin Schools professional development plan, and then Joplin Schools induction program. Those are the 5 areas that they are held accountable to, the JPDT team. So this is, as Dr. Ritter said, a major shift from being central office control, now moving down to the classroom teacher and the site level. And so very excited about that. The main objective is to support and monitor site-based professional development. Very important, since all professional development has really been moved to the site level. That's what we're here to do, is support that and help them through that process. Areas of focus that the team voted on were mentoring new teachers. Plans will be through the principals for that. Cognitive coaching is a portion of that, based upon feedback from stakeholders. Leadership development, which includes, again, cognitive coaching, human-centered design, and focus group training. Those are all things that Dr. Ritter has felt very strongly is important for growth. And then alignment, it's aligned to the Excellence of Education Act of 1985. You see the Senate bill and the standards that are set forth for teachers and leaders. It's also aligned to the strategic plan, as you can see, and then again, we're developing a new professional development plan based upon their role. I'm going to go ahead at this time and turn it over to Steve, so he can kind of finish up with you about what they're doing and give you the data piece for that.
Yeah. So we started last summer, as we started looking at, okay, so once we determined the things that we're going to need to do based on what the state says, here's what you'll do, we decided that some of the feedback that had been taken from the previous teacher induction program was that it was too long and that the teachers didn't get what they really felt like they needed. So we worked really hard at developing a one-day induction program, a welcome to Joplin program, if you will, and that sort of gave teachers a welcome to Joplin. Here are the things that we do. Here's how we do business. Here's some professional development that we believe that you might find helpful. And what we did was we designed that day we carried out that day, had lots of support from the community. We did a survey with the teacher, for all of the teachers that were involved. They absolutely loved it. And the only thing that we got back was that they believe that the teachers that come to Joplin who already have some teaching experience, that perhaps we should plan a different style of professional development for them. So we got together and we decided that we're going to do a two-track approach. And so for next year, we've started the process of doing this. So for next year, we're looking at, for that teacher induction piece, is if a teacher has taught previously, if they have several years of experience, their induction to Joplin will be significantly different. So in other words, if those things that we know that they'll need, if they need Canvas training or Infinite Canvas, that student services piece, anything that they need, if they're going to be perhaps in a classroom with special needs, like a co-teaching class, well then obviously they're going to need to know kind of how we do business in Joplin in terms of that piece in the classroom. And then they will have the opportunity to choose, do I want classroom management or do I want something else? You know, they'll have an opportunity to choose. Then teachers who are brand new to teaching, they will kind of go down that same path that we kind of developed this year. Because the feedback we got back from that was 100% positive. So anyway, with that, that's the induction piece and kind of how we planned that and what our plans are for next year to do that. One of the next things, the next role that the JPD took on was to develop the budget for how the budget will be determined to be given out to buildings and how we'll look at that whole thing. And that's that piece where buildings get so much money to do whatever they, however they decide to spend their professional development money. And typically that's done through their strategic plan, which is then obviously approved by Dr. Ritter. And the guidelines are set out for, what do we do well? What things, where are our strengths? What are our opportunities for improvements? And what are our major challenges? So as they look at those things, then they determine, okay, so how much money do I have to spend to do that? And typically, just so you know, I mean, I'm sure it's before you, but the district started out this year with $179,000. And each building is given $100 per teacher. And that's, it's predicated on the number of teachers in the building and $100 apiece. And then they'll get a bonus from that budget to spend. Last year it was a $1,000 budget. And since with Dr. Ritter's vision of empowering buildings to take on more and to have more say over what they do, the JPDT looked at that and said, okay, to be perfectly honest with you, I'm fairly conservative. So I said, well, let's hold on to as much of it as we can because we have to spend 75% of the budget. We can carry over 25%. 75% of that's $134,250. We can carry $44,750. So I determined, I'm thinking, okay, so we looked at that from a million different angles. How much can we give buildings? So we decided that a $2,000 bonus is about as good as we can do. And so right now we've got, looking at spending, it's actually, you're looking at $90,200. It's actually $86,700 because I had looked at the Franklin Tech and knowing that in the back of my mind I kept thinking, I think Franklin Tech has other professional development funds, and they do, the Carl Perkins Grant, and that's where they typically draw their professional development, and they have a significant amount from that. So you can add $3,500 back to that, which will mean that we're only spending $86,700 for that. Right below that, there is the JPDT of 7 and stipends for the JPDT. Now, what that stipends piece means is with the JPDT taking on so much, I asked Dr. Ritter, I said, it makes sense to me that those teachers who are asking teachers and principals, what kind of things do you value? What kinds of things would you like to see taking place? and the work that they're doing, they were getting a $250 stipend for doing that. And I said, can they get a $500 stipend? Can we increase it to that? And he said, absolutely. And I said, and with that, if they take on more, can they get an additional, can they earn an additional stipend? Here's how that works. So if a building states, hey, we need more information on balanced literacy, then people from the committee can say, okay, I would like to take on researching balanced literacy. I would like to go out and find out what are those things that are entailed in balanced literacy, and what resources can we provide. So they would put together an entire packet on balanced literacy and present that then to the building who asked for that. So that would be a small stipend that they could earn per teacher for doing that work. And so that's kind of how that piece of that works. The big part of what this group does, obviously, though, is teacher induction, mentor, and asking principals and asking teachers, what kinds of things do you want? What kinds of things do you need? We have a plan to get those teachers together and bring a lady from FAFSA in that can get loan forgiveness taken away from new teachers. It's sort of a wonderful, incredible opportunity for teachers to do. So we're trying to come up with things that we can do for new teachers that they will find 100% valuable, and ask them what it is they want and do the very best that we can to provide them with those things. Let's see.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Sure.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but you talk a lot about the new teachers. What about our seasoned teachers? What are we offering them?
Right. Well, that piece is the money that goes to the buildings. That's what principals will do. So in other words, if you look at Cecil Floyd, the amount of money that they have, they would say, okay, here are our opportunities for improvement, the things that we really need to look at. They say, well, we have X amount of dollars to spend, and here's what we're going to do for our teachers, our staff in the building.
Let me give you an example of what's happened over the last couple of weeks. Fourth and fifth grade teachers are talking because they want more work in math because of, deficiencies as far as math is concerned. So they're kind of collaborating across the district to bring more expertise in. And so the person that wrote the actual textbook, who's really good with that, they're pooling their resources and having that person come in and train them. So that's where they're driving that type of thinking. And so really, the balanced literacy is another example of that. The phonics is another example. So that's all happening at the sites. Okay? So then we're going to see, though, if I may continue, Steve, what we're going to see, though, is we're going to see some cross-district issues. Okay, that's where the cognitive coaching comes in. We're going to see some cross-district demands that eventually they can find some efficiency and effectiveness around that. All right, and so that's where they're going to be calling for that type of work to get that done. And so really, it's good. That's why we're going to come back to you in about a month to give you the final plan.
So we're developing our own centers of excellence.
That's right.
That we can pull on from other buildings.
Within the district.
Yeah.
And to give you a perfect example of that, we got together, last summer I took a group and we were working on secondary curriculum. And the idea about our math scores and how we do in mathematics and that kind of thing, there was a great deal of talk about that. And I asked the elementary principals, I said, this makes perfect sense to me. Why don't we get all of our teachers in the elementary level who teach mathematics, let's get them together with our middle school teachers who teach mathematics. And let's dig into the standards, let's look at the standards, let's look at if something is an essential standard. In other words, I define that as it's the first time that it's been taught. So that needs to have very explicit instruction given to the kids. What resources do we use? What strategies do we use? How do we go about getting at an essential standard? And so we got together just yesterday, with a huge number, 35 or 40 came from the elementary, came to South, and we sat down with them, and it's not, trust me, it's not an indictment of what are you doing at the elementary school. It's how can we collaborate together so that we can look at our curriculum and that we can look at all of the needs that we have curricular-wise, instructional-wise, so that we can improve how we teach mathematics, not just hopefully, one of the outcomes of that will be increased scores, obviously, when it's all said and done. And I will tell you this, that there were many epiphanies in the room about, oh gosh, I didn't realize that, and that's incredible, I didn't know you did that. And I'd mentioned the notion of having a common vocabulary across, K-12. And so they're developing, we're going to continue to get together like this and develop a common vocabulary. And then we'll migrate this through to the high school, begin meeting with high school folks. So from all the way down 12 to pre-K, or K at least, how we teach mathematics and how we value teaching mathematics in the district. So that's another piece that came out of this, but that didn't cost us any money at all. That was just, your question about what are we doing
and my example is like the cognitive coaching. There's value in that for new teachers. They're probably not taught that. But teachers who have been teaching for, I would guess, 5 or more years, maybe they already do that. I mean, they were, back in the day, they were taught to do that.
Not cognitive coaching.
Well, but asking questions.
Okay.
It's a basic concept. I mean, it wasn't called cognitive coaching, but it's the concept of it, is asking questions and
Asking the right
communicating.
questions, yeah.
And so those teachers have been doing it for years. So they're not going to ask for the cognitive coaching. So what are we offering them? That's what I'm asking is that's a focus on here, and it's in the next item. But for those teachers that don't find value in that, what are we offering them? I just don't want to say, well, it's cognitive coaching this year, and that's what our plan is. If you don't need it, you still have to come, or they get nothing out of it. I just want to make sure that across the board, our teachers are getting professional development. They're
Absolutely.
becoming more professional.
And I do think that piece will be hit on by principals. In other words, at least from my perspective, we've worked on our plan. We've been working on that for this entire year of how we do business at South Middle School, and those things that we do, how we teach, how we're teaching this reciprocal agreement between students and teachers about how are we going to ramp up everything that we do. Our mission statement is turn it up, and it's on a scale of 1 to 10. Are you coming to school prepared to give it your all, to give it everything you've got? Where are you on that continuum? And teachers and students, myself, the staff, everybody that interacts with kids, including kids, that's that piece. And so when we determine we may be at a 4, we may be at a 6, well, we need to turn it up. How are we going to turn it up? And that whole business comes from, with us, it's the piece of engagement. It's that piece of how do we teach kids to come to school prepared to give it their all? How do we teach that focus piece? And so that's that whole collective effort of, and so truly we depend on our teachers, our veteran teachers who have a lot of experience that are going to bring to the table.
The way we're going
to
get really very smart around this is through our systems review of staff. And staff are going to be able to identify opportunities for improvement. And then we're going to see some consistency there. And that's what you respond to, okay? And that's really what the cognitive coaching is. I'm saying that because our principles, it took the edge off of behavior. Our behavior is unbelievable. It's mainly because it's opened everybody up to listening, all right? And so that's really what's happening. And so as we're shaping that, and as we do take a different approach to staff evaluation, and we're calling it a systems review, and by the way, I did a little bit with you guys, but I'm going to do more with the board on that to help the board understand that, because that's going to make us very smart around what the adult needs in this system. So right now, we're depending on the site to do that, and we're always going to depend on the site. But we're going to help the site become smarter around that. That's what we're doing.
Well, Norm, I want to say that I'm very encouraged that with your leadership, we're decentralizing so many systems and getting them back to staff and teachers and parents and even to some extent students, and letting them have input. And we're changing things. I think things are getting better.
Oh, it's exciting to talk to teachers today. For instance, I was sitting down with teachers at Cognitive Coaching. I says, okay, talk to me about how this works with the students. And it just blew my mind, how it just changed their whole approach. And so it's really kind of interesting, because they're owning that. They were there at their own choice, you see, and that's the key. That's what I meant by empowerment and engagement and high expectations. The more they're empowered, the higher they're going to expect of improvement of their own self. And so that's really the power. So thank you for that.
I
So-
agree. Can I clarify something, though? Yes, thanks for empowering at the building level, but I do have a couple of questions. Okay, so the budget's 179.
Yes.
And you're allocating 86.7.
Yes.
At the building level.
At the building level.
At the building level, they're looking at their data, and they're saying, we need to know about balanced literacy, we need
Yes.
to know about this, we need to know about that. So they get to spend the money based on what their data and scores are telling them, here's where we need to improve.
Yes.
So then that leaves 92,300 at the district level, and you're saying, well, we could carry 25% of that forward. So
Right.
if we spent about 70,000 of that, what are we spending that on?
Well-
And what data did we have to make the choice?
Right, and that, part of that we're keeping for the teacher induction for new teachers, for teachers new to the district, or if a principal comes to us and says, hey, we actually could use, collectively, we could actually use more money for this. So we had looked at all kinds of things about, so how do we spend the remainder of this money? And we tabled 742 ideas. About just hanging on to that money, let's just hang on to it, because once we kind of get a little further into this, we don't want to jump off the cliff and say, let's buy this, let's do this, let's do that. So we want to evaluate every program that we're doing, everything that we're doing in the building, and determine where is the real need. And so really, that's kind of be the principal through the teacher voice as to what will we do with the rest of that money. We don't, right now, currently, we don't have a plan for it. So if we don't come up with anything else, we'll carry that remainder over.
Second part of that question then. In years past, we jumped on every bandwagon that came around, whether it was data supported or not, and we overwhelmed our teachers. And so I'm looking here saying we're doing cognitive coaching, human-centered design, and focus group training, and Norm says those are all important, and I value that Norm says those are important.
Those aren't for teachers,
But,
those last two.
okay, what are they?
They're for principals. That's going to help.
The leadership
human-centered
development.
design.
The leadership development, that's the
Okay.
principals.
And so is some of this 92,300 going to pay for that?
We're going to talk about that. That's going to be Title II. That's not part of this.
Okay, well, then further down, I read that 74,000 was coming out of Title II for cognitive coaching.
And
Right.
the
We
human
still have
center.
the 92,000 just set aside.
Yes, still set aside.
Yep.
Yeah, that from JPDT, the 1% money
From the
is
1%
is
money.
separate from that Title II money. Yeah, so the what's left over from, after we do this, it will still remain in JPDT, the 1%, the professional development money.
Could
Yeah.
Title II money be divided among the buildings as well?
I don't think so. No, Title II is very specific about what you can do with that.
What was thought of is, as we're responding to the needs of buildings and what they say, hey, we're needing this, and as you brought up, Debbie, that they may need more, or something like that, that's what Title II funding is there for, so that if they, whatever the team decides with how to handle that, if they're saying, hey, we need this, we've got to have this, that's what that Title II money is there for, to be able to have as well, to help with those PD needs, or district needs, or whatever that may be. And so that's why you see that cognitive coaching, human-centered design, and focus group training are coming out of that particular budget, so.
Or coming out of Title II.
Out of Title II, that's correct.
E2 has it listed there at the bottom of that page.
Yeah, those three together come up to 74,000, so.
That's another item that's coming up. Okay, any other questions of Steve, Jennifer, myself?
This is an action.
No, this is.
Oh, this is reading.
First reading. And we're going to come back with more plans.
But I did want to point that piece about that it would, the money would take 3,500. No, that's going away from FTC.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for all the work you've done.
Absolutely.
Thrilled to see
Thank
the leadership going back to the building level so they can design what they need based on what their school's needs are. Because we always
Absolutely.
need to look at what the data tells us.
Yeah.
There are professionals, that's why it's
Great.
professional
They are.
development.
Exactly.
All right.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, guys.
Yes.
Thank you.
Gotta quit treating them otherwise.
Next up, policy updates.
No, we have cognitive coaching.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, cognitive coaching, yeah.
Yes. The first reading?
That's what I,
Oh, yeah.
that's what I was reading.
Yes,
is that there was a- Okay.
Yeah, we do need to approve the
All right.
first reading.
Yeah. All right, Lori has made a motion that we approve that first reading,
Second.
and Jennifer second, so please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, that passes. Thank you, Pat.
Right, Pat's a good one.
Thank you.
I asked and they ignored me.
So cognitive coaching.
Steve, could you join us with this too? Cognitive coaching, Sandra and Steve, please. Sandra. So what we have, we had a conversation before. I wanted this to flow through the JPDT team, and it did. And also, basically, wanted to come back with more data for you because you were asking for more data. And so currently, we have 35 teachers during their last day of training tomorrow. We have 40 administrators, so all administrators have been trained. So what we have currently is 82 teachers that really are interested in it, and we have a number of them that want to be trainer of trainers, and so that's in the agenda as well, and we're starting to work that process as well. And so anyway, I'm going to go ahead and you can see the pertinent facts, the alignment. We already had some conversation around it. What else is there? As far as fiscal note, I do think we need to let you know that we did look into the substitute situation because that came up, and we did move as much of the train as we could to the summer, depending on the trainer's availability. But also, we are looking at substitutes, and we have 196 substitutes right now, by the way, and it's about the same as last year. Today was a high level of substitute because of the cognitive coaching, but also we had some Apple training going on. But really, the problem we're having with our substitutes, by the way, is that basically calling in at the last minute is a problem. So we're going to have to figure out how to improve that process, because we have a lot of people who are calling in at 6 in the morning, and so it makes it difficult to get people into that site 2 hours later, especially if you're signed up to training. They should know that way ahead of time. And so we have to do some work around that to step that up, and we are looking at a better process as far as substitutes are concerned. So
Can you remind us, how many days of training is this?
it's 8 days.
It's 8 days.
Yeah, it's 2 days at a time, so there's training, there's practice going on between the training is really the main goal and main objective. We're training 30 teachers at a time to give it more. This group was way too large. It was really a struggle, but still they accomplished it, and so now, and all we're doing is just responding to teachers who want to get trained in it.
So did you say tomorrow was their last day, their 8th day, or what did you say?
There's 8th day, there's last day tomorrow.
Okay. And so we've had a group of 75 go through this now.
That's correct.
So again, what's the data telling us about how is that impacting student achievement?
I would say it's impacting behavior huge. I would say that, in fact, a lot of your data, you're going to find that the data around adult behavior has changed dramatically. And so we're seeing a major impact on student behavior as well. And so we need to collect that data yet, but I would say that you're going to find that the cognitive coaching is driving a lot of that.
I mean, did we set a goal at the beginning of it that before cognitive coaching, here's our pre-data, after cognitive coaching, here's our post-data? So what was our goal for the cognitive data? Was it to reduce the number of behavioral referrals? Was it to increase academic achievement?
It was to change the adult behavior in the whole system. And basically, when I came in, the data was very clear, very powerful, coming from the community, from the teachers, and from the students, and parents. Major concern about behavior. And I think we all had that conversation in December. Well, really, the main drive there then is to change the behavior and to really help the adult in this situation ask the right questions rather than to direct and control. So moving away from that. And the same premise, it's really an empowerment of the people you're serving. And so I like to call it a humble curiosity is what we're trying to build in the adult. And that's really what the outcome of cognitive coaching is. I should let you guys talk.
Dr. Ritter, I'd just like to add, I did go from this not knowing much about cognitive coaching, and I began to ask some teachers. I love to talk to folks and find out what they're saying. This is from an email that one elementary teacher did send to me, and I'm going to cut it short, but it says, "I really love it." Goes on down, "I'm an advocate for it because this is the first PD," and she's been teaching for years, "that I feel like I can relate to, follows my personal philosophy of teaching, and follows district goals. Everyone in the group of 70 has loved it, in my opinion. It talks and teaches about body language, paraphrasing, goal setting, reflection. All of it you can use with students, peers, and parents."
Wow,
So,
I guess I better stop
pretty
talking.
high claim. And this, she is a very recognized teacher in the district, so.
The data, to stay with the data, the data is going to come out of process data, and it's going to come out of performance data eventually, okay? So when we do the systems review that I'm going to share with you, you're going to start seeing the data coming out of that. And it's going to start showing strengths, opportunities, and major challenges. So that's really how this works. And so I'm going to have conversations with the teacher forum, for instance, on Monday to talk about that systems review, and then also with the leadership on Wednesday, and it's all going to be not around cognitive coaching, but it's going to have that same philosophy, the same type of approach. It's all about empowerment. And so cognitive coaching does a good job with that. And so
can I ask, just so, my guess is the end game with this in training so many people is that eventually it's not going to cost us anything to train our staff.
Because you have trainer
with
of
this,
trainers.
right? Because we will have people, so at some point, the cost does.
what happens with cognitive coaching, along with that, to respond to that, what happens with cognitive coaching, you're going to start seeing, identifying different needs that are going to be very exciting, very positive. It's going to be more around innovative and opportunity, which is the last word in the vision, okay? And that's what cognitive coaching, it's not just cognitive coaching, it's a whole philosophical upside down, turning upside down approach. And so what you're going to find then, about 5 years from now, this district is going to be a high-performing district. It will be. We stay the course. It will be. And it isn't because of cognitive coaching. It's mainly a shift in that empowerment. That's what causes that. And really, what conversation I'm having at the sites, I should tell you this, I'm asking the teachers to define what it means to be a professional. And they're having a hard time with it. What does it mean to be a professional? And finally, they start. It takes a while. At every site, it takes a while. And they finally get to the point, oh, it's confidence. I said, that's right. And that means, so what does that mean to be confident? That means we know what we're doing, and we know who we're serving, and we know how to respond, okay? Then I said, okay, then the next question I have is this. So what does it mean to be an artist as a teacher? Oh my gosh, what does that mean? So then they start drilling down, they start thinking about that, and they said, oh my gosh. So as an artist, it means that I'm in charge of the design, and I'm creating a classroom that basically my parents would spend all the money they have to have their child in my classroom. That's what a designer is, that's what an artist is. So that's what leads. So cognitive coaching feeds into that, but you're going to find a lot of staff development is going to be created amongst our teachers. And they're going to call on the outside every once in a while, but I think we're going to create our own staff development, is what happens.
So tell me some more about, because I'm in favor of cognitive coaching. I'm not in favor of 656 days of substitutes and $52,480 in substitute pay. So you said we're rearranging the schedule. So how many of those 8 days would not take a teacher away from her class?
Depends on which.
And maybe we should be asking you guys.
Yeah, it depends on which cohort they choose. We said we'd do a minimum of 8 days in the summertime. And again, that's dependent, if we can do more than 8 based upon her availability, then we'll do that. But we will definitely be able to do a minimum of 8. So that's one full you know what I'm saying? Or we can even break them up to where they finish up in there, so that's less days out. But our goal is to have them in the classroom as much as possible. Now, I will say a benefit of having them out for a few days for that training and then going back to the classroom is they're able to take those strategies right back to the classroom and implement them and work with them as they go. And so You would want a little bit of that here and there, and so you want to find that balance where it's not too much out.
So you've got a third of it happening during the summer
Right.
and
Yes, that is
two-thirds
correct.
during the school
Do they
year.
do all 8 days in the same school year? Because this first cohort, didn't they do 4 last school year and 4 this school year?
There's some overlaps.
We did do that, because that's where it began towards, when we began it was towards the end of the school year. I mean, we were moving towards the second half of the school year. I will tell you, they don't recommend that length of time because of they prefer that it be a little bit closer together, just because of making those connections with everything. So, they finished at the end of the school year, now they have had this whole summertime, and so then there's a lot of reminders to make those connections again for them in that training. So today in the training, having to make a lot of connections for them to remind them of some things that had been in the former training. So they prefer it not be that far apart, but we had to do that because we had no
The real interesting thing is this, all the teachers that are married, they're poor spouses. I mean, their spouses are getting all the practice.
Yes.
It's really amazing.
So they want all
Their
8
children,
days to
too,
be
yeah.
within the same school year then?
They prefer that.
Yeah, they would,
prefer that.
because you're going to see the improvement through the year. which is
Yes.
good.
So when we're developing the district calendar then, is that something we can keep in mind as we're developing district calendar?
Oh,
that
yes.
Absolutely.
On these days when we have kids are out of school, we could be doing a cognitive
That's what I
coaching
was gonna
training on
ask,
that day?
yeah.
Yes,
I just don't
except
want
Irving.
teachers out of the
Those.
classrooms.
Yeah.
I don't want to
Yeah.
spend a lot of money on subs.
Yeah.
I
No, I
really-
understand
You
that
know?
completely, and don't disagree with you on that in any way, shape, or
That's just
form.
been my
So
concern.
I do know that who did I speak with? We spoke about this. Was it you and I that were having that conversation about looking at the calendar in the future, so.
I think the thing that, the assumptions, I think we should have 6 additional instructional days next year. I'll quote that. You can quote me, Emily. Okay. 6 more instructional days next year and 6 more teacher work days next year. So in other words, we go later in May.
You're on your way out the door.
No,
Darryl.
even if I was
Easy
here.
for you
that
to
would
say
be,
that.
would be so much fun if we had that much time.
And if we are
So
going
much
to
fun.
approve this 3-year plan rolling,
Yeah.
that also allows us to line it up with the schedule.
That's
As
right.
opposed to last minute, we need to do something for PD, so let's do it and
I
put
think
it. So
that's-
it's
And
a
I-
little more strategic looking at it, and especially if you can do a couple days right the day before school starts.
I think that should be in our staff development plan.
Absolutely, I think that's a great idea.
I think that should
And
line
just to give you an example, we had some people who were in this particular cohort, and they contacted me about, hey, I'm at this particular point in my classroom, I just don't feel comfortable being out at these next 2 days. I said, not a problem, you can pick those last 2 days up in one of the, depending on what the
Yeah.
decision was tonight, if we are able to have more cohorts, you could just pick it up in there. I'm saying, she needed to be in her classroom, absolutely, 100%, I had no problem with that whatsoever, so.
So you had 82 teachers express interest. You said you're going to take them through cohorts of 30. So would you have 3 cohorts
Yeah,
operating simultaneously?
No, not simultaneously. Your goal would be to do 2, and then, I know that's one of the things we were looking at, is changing some of the dates to make it a little bit more spaced out, if that makes sense. So one of those cohorts, your goal would be completely in the summer, one full cohort in the summer. If we're able to move a few days from another cohort towards the end of the summer, or even beginning into, however we can work that, if we can add more days there, we will. But for sure, one full cohort would move through, but they're separated like about 2 in October, 2 in November, maybe 2 in January. So, there's those 2 days are spaced out throughout the year, rather than them being gone 8 days right in a row, so.
So
You
with
might need
this,
2 days in a row, though.
I think we
Yeah,
all
it-
agree
it
that
would
we want
be 2 days in a row.
teachers not
2
to
days
be
in a
out
row
of the
because that has-
classroom, but we're all in support of cognitive coaching, so I make a motion that we accept cognitive
I have one more
coaching as
question.
presented.
Hang on a second, there's a motion,
second.
so now there's a second. Now questions? Lori?
Everyone else was asking.
No, well,
Sorry.
yeah, you're fine, go ahead.
So this is going to remain voluntary for teachers?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
It's,
Never
this
forced.
is about those that are interested. And like I said, I will tell you that number, at one point it was this, then I got some more. And as they hear more about it and they're hearing from the teachers who are attending, like that particular teacher, then they become more interested and they're seeing that in action. And so I expect that number to
Right.
continue to grow based upon that. But yeah, these are ones who specifically said, I want to be there. We're
And
not-
by the numbers, that's about
We're not saying you have
20%.
to attend, you have to go. This is about, do you want this training? Will it benefit you for your needs in your classroom?
How are we paying for the subs?
That's coming through Title II money as well.
Subs are also?
Yes.
Yep, everything paid by that.
Everything for it completely is
As
coming out
well
of
as
Title II
Eco,
funding.
you know, we have Eco Advantage in the summertime.
Yes.
That'll be that as well.
If we go in the summertime, that's the thing, is we, you know, obviously compensating them for their time in that summer.
Teachers were asking for cognitive coaching here in this district a few years back, and we're told no.
Oh, really?
All right, so
Well,
there's,
I would just
there's
ask
a
that we
motion.
not forget about those who aren't doing this and plan something as beneficial for them.
It's up to
like,
them.
as a whole
Yeah.
plan, you
Right.
know?
They're
I
the
mean,
professionals.
So, yeah.
We're going to
no, I'm just
respond to
saying
whatever
that-
their needs
that
are.
we, yeah, that we don't just get so high on this that we kind of lose sight of the.
When you start
forest for
doing
the
this,
trees.
you struggle with assessment. You know, and what I mean by assessment, breaking down students' scores, as you know. And so that's going to be the next thing that I'm going to be training principals on, how to break that assessment down. So we're going to take the third grade at Jefferson's data, and we're going to look at that as a large leadership group and break it down. And so it's going to be interesting how people are going to learn from each other. And so that's the strategy around that.
Yep.
Good.
Sure. Okay.
All right, so,
May I share just a quick story about how it's working? I had a teacher from one of the elementaries ask me to come and coach her because she had 20 kids in her second grade class, and 10 of them, she said, didn't recognize all of their numbers yet, and then the others were ready to move on, and so she was struggling. So we went through one of the conversations, and halfway through she goes, oh my goodness, I'm focusing on the wrong thing. They know their numbers. They're reversing them when they're writing them down. So, like, she was trying to come up with strategies for helping these kids recognize their numbers. Then halfway through the conversation, she realized that's not even the problem. And it was through those questions. It wasn't me telling her anything, but just asking the questions. And I'm definitely not a pro at it or anything, but all of a sudden, you just, in the middle of the conversation, she goes, I know what I need to do. So, you know, I think we're already seeing the impact. You know, I don't have data to present to show, but just that one
It's a behavior shift is major.
was
Okay.
powerful for
that's
me.
good.
Good. We have a
All right, motion by Linda, second by Chris, please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, okay, that motion
you.
passes.
Thank you.
Okay,
All-
thank you, guys.
Thank you.
We're going to take 5-minute break. We've hit our 90-minute mark, so.
Busy night.
And I looked, I said, there's no way we can make it to the end in 10 minutes.
You know, professionally,
I understand.
professionally, he doesn't need that. I mean, it's not gonna help
Okay,
him.
next up,
it's-
policy
like I said-
updates, second reading.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Someone stepping in for Brandon.
Oh, yeah.
Lori's missing.
Lori had to step
Oh,
out.
okay,
She had
excuse
a
me.
personal. No,
Just let you know.
That was my fault. I encouraged her to do it, so. Okay, why don't you two take it over, because Brandon's
She asked earlier. if she
out
could
because
take
of
that
health
break.
reasons.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
How about if I do DD grants?
Yeah.
Board policy grants, DD, basically what we wrote in is one of the things that the grant, Mark was here, and he voiced it, that they find problems with is, a lot of times grants, the turnaround time is very short and before we have another meeting. And what we'd like to do is put in the wording, which is, I don't know if yours is in blue, that was on
Yeah,
here.
it is.
Okay. Where it talks about if the matching funds come to the amount of 15,000 or more, then that needs to come through board approval.
Right, it's kind of like our purchasing, there's
The
our.
same threshold.
Our purchasing
Yes.
threshold.
And it
Because
kept
below
the,
that, they
anything
can-
that is obtained through funding, regardless of who writes it, remains a property of the school, so.
Okay. If you both looked at it, I have no,
Yeah, we go through
Issues.
these
I know.
actually really pretty closely. We do.
I know whenever I go in the room, it's hot.
Can we
No.
make a motion to approve all these at once, or do we need to go through them individually?
freezing in
we don't
here.
have to go through them
That's why I said
individually.
do this.
So if you would like to make that motion,
I would like to make the motion that we approve the grants on second reading.
and
I would second that motion.
Do you want to do
Do you- that w-
annual budget and grant together? Because we've got annual
So
budget
7A
as
and B?
DB.
6, 7, and 8?
Oh,
well, we
okay.
also, yeah, we have 6 A, B, C, D, and 7
You want to do all
A, B.
second readings and then the 2 new readings?
Yeah,
Okay.
let's do it all at once.
We can do them all at once unless you feel like there's a need to have a discussion.
I would second that amendment.
I mean, I think we
Okay.
vetted it, but I'm happy
So-
to explain it.
Yeah.
She's got it.
We
De-
trust your opinion.
Deb has made the motion to accept 6A through D and 7A and B. And
A-
Sherrick,
A, right?
oh,
I kinda
8
like
is also on
8A
there?
and
8A,
8A.
yes. Those policies, and Sherrick has seconded. If there's no
Sherrick,
discussion,
sit over there.
please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, okay, so those pass, thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Barless.
I can see you guys don't like talking about policy.
No, I have, that just means I have faith in you two.
You're just boring.
Southwest Center of Excellence yearly membership.
We have an action item before you tonight for renewal of our membership dues to the Southwest Center. Pertinent facts listed in the action item are the Southwest Centers and Educational Services. The services, actually, it's 44 schools. I updated that in my data today, but as you can see, it serves 7,000 employees in the Southwest Missouri area, and it's aligned to our strategic plan in Goal 1, 2, and 3. Also, the data that supports this is the way that it provides the services for the districts, its member districts, working with legislators and representation on local, state, and federal educational issues. Opportunity for administration and teachers to network with others on a regular basis. Professional development is offered, and that can also be uniquely structured to the specific needs of the buildings. Discounts for instructional programs, participation in administrative summits, technology summits, and celebrations for schools, and also current updates for staff on DESE, and also supports MSIP 5 initiatives for districts as well.
I think it's a wonderful organization, and I think it's really important that we support that
Yep.
because we get professional development out of it. so-
More so than ever right now. so.
Absolutely.
Yep.
It's,
That is a motion. I move we approve
Okay,
our
there you go.
All right.
membership to Southwest Center.
I'll
So
second.
Deb has approved and Jennifer a second. If there's no discussion,
Just gonna
please
give
vote.
Sherrick sign for now.
I mean, Debbie's telling me I don't have to read every word.
Yes.
Chris?
Next.
Well, we got to vote
Hang on, we
first.
gotta vote.
Chris?
Yes. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you say yes or anything.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes, okay, that motion passes.
Next one.
Next one then, the
Next
Crowder
on the
College.
agenda is the action item for an agreement with Crowder. This is the based upon specific IEP goals we have for some of our students, and we have Crowder working with us in helping to develop some of the programming for some of our most severe behaviors. And this is also coupled with ongoing training with a lot of our teachers serving district-wide. Right now, we have some center-based programs where she's really been effective in helping out. As you can see, the alignment with our strategic plan is as expected. The data, based on stakeholder input, was identified as a primary need and concern, and we continue to support our teachers with this type of support. It provides plenty of feedback for our stakeholders, and teachers felt inadequate to successfully address some of the severe behaviors of our students, and we're getting extraordinarily better at that.
Yeah, and Mark, we've been working with Crowder, haven't we, for a while on this program?
We have. This is actually our third year with them.
Yeah.
And we amped it up because one of our, the particular specialists we're talking about, we actually have her full-time now. And I think the fiscal note kind of explains how we're able to do that without any additional cost to the district through the High Needs Fund. And it's been very successful, and I don't see that the cost. Last year, we captured about $400,000 in high needs funding back to the district, and this was part of it.
Okay, I move we approve our agreement with Crowder.
All right.
A second.
Motion by Deb, second by Sherrick. Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, that motion passes. Okay. Next item, that is the agreement with Joplin Schools and Leffen Center for Autism.
In this particular case, we had an IEP team that made the determination that the least restrictive setting for a student was at the Ozark Center for Autism. And this is basically acknowledgement of that agreement with the Ozark Center to provide that services on. And, you know, we put this out as an annual, but it is going to be driven by IEP needs. So any time during the year, if we make a determination for change, it could change. But right now, we're expecting a cost of around $39,600. And again, after the first $19,000 or so of cost, we do recoup through High Needs Fund the additional cost of that program and service.
And is this one student, Mark?
Right now, we have one student that's being served through an IEP process.
And is this the first time we've done this?
This is the first time in 17 years I've ever made a recommendation for this particular service.
And we just could not meet those needs.
We had him at the last setting was at Beacon, probably the most restrictive short of homebound, and it was collaborative. We worked with OCA while he was at Beacon, and it was more of a collaborative decision to make this determination.
Do you see us headed this direction? Do you see us headed this direction? Or
Not
it was just
very
this is a
often.
unique case?
Not very. This is a very unique case, and as a matter of fact, I'd say it's extraordinary for Joplin. We have a very diverse service model in Joplin. In this particular case, this is one student that we just could not meet his needs.
I'd move that we approve.
All right.
Second.
Sherrick moved, and Linda second. Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, that motion passes. Okay. Next one, the speech and language pathologist.
And this is in a contractual agreement for speech and language pathology, and as explained in the action item, due to shortages of licensed SLPs in the area, you know, most districts in this area have what's called a speech implemental model. And even with that, you still have to have licensed speech language pathologists to supervise and to implement that model. We have a shortage there, so what we have done is we have contracted with a former retired speech pathologist to pick up the slack that we needed in that area. And we did this last year, and at the cost of $33,500. I don't anticipate any increase in this, and based upon that, our expenses and expenditures requesting this action are already in the established budget on our maintenance of effort.
I move we hire the speech language pathologist.
Motion by Linda.
Debbie?
Sorry.
Second by Linda.
Second by Linda.
It's getting late.
Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, that passes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, Mornet. Dr. Segeta.
We've been having an annual agreement to, or at least a re-upping of our service with Mornet.
And we're getting ready to go into a new situation with AT&T too, and I want to let Eric probably tell you a little bit more detail, but essentially we got a little bit of an overlap of services, and we want to make sure that we don't have any interruption in of our services for our internet in any of our buildings. And so it appears that we're going to be able to get some of this $80,000 back, basically prorated out after we switch service. Eric, is there anything else you want to add to that?
I would say E-rate hasn't been approved yet, and that's where we're getting the funding for AT&T, and we're still waiting on that. That could take up until December. AT&T has now said that they can't make it into our district at 1.5 gigs until December. And so we at least need to count on MoreNet until that time. And we need to have that month overlap because of our external IP addresses. MoreNet owns those, and AT&T is giving us new ones. And for us to change over and for that to, to get down to like the outside DNS world, that takes a little bit of time to transition over there. So we need to do that slow and cautiously. We need at least a month overlap once we get AT&T into our school district.
Are we confident in AT&T's ability to meet the need that MoreNet was meeting?
Well, AT&T is supposed to come in at 1.5 gigs, where MoreNet was only giving us at 1 gig.
Okay.
Now, MoreNet is a dedicated gig, where AT&T, we should have that 1.5 gigs all the time, but as demand increases within Joplin or the area, we could see a little bit of tapering down, but I wouldn't expect that much.
And is there a lock on that price? It's not like, oh, come to us, and then the price goes up.
Yeah, 6 months later.
This is really their normal price, and it falls in line with Cable One. Cable One was just a little bit higher for 1.5 gigs.
Do you know any districts around us that have left MoreNet and gone to AT&T?
They, no, but a lot of companies here in Joplin use AT&T. And our fiber that we actually use for MoreNet, those are AT&T circuits.
All right.
So actually, I did have some questions I think I sent out, and I think I was kind of waiting for a response back on that regarding financially, waiting to see if we could just hold on taking this out of reserves and use this out of the IT budget. And so what was the feeling on that?
Paul could probably answer this a little bit better, but the original 80,000 that was slotted for MoreNet was, since we were going to pay this out of E-rate, was deemed a savings, and that was pulled out of the IT budget.
Oh, okay, so then let's take it out of reserves.
Right, last spring, as we did our systems review and put the budget together and really, stretch where we thought we could, this being one, this was an E-rate item. We saw going from $80,000 cost with MoreNet to net after E-rate of, what, 12 or 8?
12.
So 68,000 went into the redirected expenditure budget contributing toward the $1 million savings on this particular item. Of course, with that, like any budget or building a building or doing an infrastructure changeover, you have to make estimates and have to have cooperation from your vendors to meet deadlines. This one's taking a little longer, but so we'll have to engage. A month of $80,000 a month is, what's that, about $7,000 a month. We have to engage 3 to 4 months that we didn't plan on MoreNet to get us to that December, January timeframe. Since it came out of his budget originally last year, the $80,000, but it went elsewhere this year, what I said in my email or tried to convey is it would seem to be, he's not benefiting from the savings. The system is benefiting.
Mhm.
So I was describing that it would seem not to be appropriate to assign
The penalty.
the penalty to him since he didn't benefit from the savings. So
Got it.
the system
Yeah.
benefited from it. So I was recommending that the system absorb a budget adjustment for this for 3 to 4 months to let this changeover occur.
And I would say, in talks with MoreNet, they only bill by the year, but if we only use it for so many months, then they will refund what we didn't use.
Yeah.
And the E-rate will be approved. It's just not approved yet?
Well.
Or there's no guarantee it
There's
will
no
be approved?
guarantee, but we haven't got it denied yet. They actually called and asked us a few questions over our E-rate, all of the stuff that we filed for E-rate, so we feel it's probably going to get approved.
Okay. With that, I'd entertain a motion to approve this item.
I'll make a motion that we approve.
Okay.
The more net renewal.
Jennifer made the motion, I'll second. Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes?
Yes, that motion passes. Thank you.
Can I suggest these next three items be put into one motion?
Sure.
If that's possible.
we'll do
And then
that.
you could explain.
Yes, we had a change order request on Emerson because additional asbestos was found by the contractor who won the original bid. And they put a request in, as you can see, for $45,000 to ensure that an additional 1,600 feet and 280 some odd mud pipes are taken care of appropriately and within the requirements of the law, and to make sure that they're disposed of correctly. So that's the Emerson change order for that. And then the other two projects, Memorial Roof and Jefferson Rooftop Units, are both items that were tagged early on in capital outlay for this year. And those items both are in need. They were part of long-term facilities planning and just immediate needs that were part of this year's capital projects budget, and all these items were still within what the overall budget was that you approved for capital outlay at this time.
Okay.
Okay, so we're within budget on these?
Yes.
things. Okay.
That's right.
Even with the change order?
Even with the
that
change
still
orders.
keeps it within, okay.
Yes.
And on the change order, we've identified some ways that we can provide information so that there may not be these big change orders in the future as far
Right.
as the information we put out in the bid.
Right. I think going back and looking at the bid and talking about how we work bids in the future, Mr. Rouse, Norman, and I have talked about potential ways to make sure that more information is up front in the bid, and that maybe some specificity in potential change orders is also part of the language in the specifications.
I move we approve all three capital outlay expenditures, 14A, B, and C.
Okay.
I have one more question,
Is there a motion?
actually, when you get done.
Yeah,
I'll
motion,
second.
motion by Deb, second by Jennifer. Questions?
Is this the product on Memorial Ed roof? Is that new product that they were putting on some of the other roofs in the school that were, remember what I was talking about, the white, it was all single surface?
Yes.
This is the
Yes.
same product?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, no further questions, please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, that passes. Okay, next item is the superintendent's system review. This we're doing on a periodic basis. This, for those that are not aware, we are reviewing the superintendent at a systems level for his responsibilities. And we do that as a board.
It should be. Do you have it?
I have it.
Okay. I think everybody does.
Okay.
Well, I think he was checking to
I
see if it was
checking
up
to see
there.
If it was up here.
Because it's loaded on our
Oh,
board
it's,
packet.
it's on the.
Oh, it's
logged
not,
in.
oh, okay.
Yep. Yep. It's something that we review as a board individually and then as a summary as a board, and we're just now recognizing the September review. So we had all 7 board members give the evaluation of the items: leadership, strategic planning, customer focus, measurement analysis, workforce flow, focus, process management, and then results. And then the highlight that's out there is the self-review on the system side. There we go. So you see that now. So if If there's any discussion, questions, happy to open that. This is something that is unusual. Typically, the superintendent's review is done individually in closed session, and it may be in the future, but
Yep.
we wanted to make sure that as we are being transparent with this transformation, that we're open and sharing. We may have potentially 45 applicants watching our show this evening. We ended up with 45 apply for the superintendent's position, so we may have additional people watching. This is how the evaluation's done for our superintendent. So if there are no questions, or let's take any questions first. If there's no questions.
Actually, do you have questions of us? I mean, you've looked at
So
it.
basically, when you look at the strengths, opportunities for improvement, we're pretty much on track. I think what I'm going to do, to follow up with this, is come back with 3 goals that you want me to accomplish, because I see myself as pregnant right now, because I have 9 months left. So I need to deliver, because I just went
Before you
through.
leave.
I need to deliver before I leave.
Yes.
So it's almost to the day, 9 months. So there you
I
go.
swear I was pregnant for 12. I swear I was. With all
Well, I
4
just
of
went
them.
through 2 daughters,
Yes.
so I understand, that's why I thought of that. But anyway. So I will come back to you in October with 1, 2, 3 goals, and it'll be a conversation that 3 of us have about what you guys want me to accomplish.
And then we'll have the next systems review in, is it January?
January.
In January. So
Yep.
again, this is the process. There's no surprises when it comes to the end of the year if we're on track or not. We touch base every
That's right.
every couple of months so that we make sure that we're always on track.
I
So
think this is a good process, too. I think it's important to do this.
Yep.
So,
if there are no further comments, we do need to. Do we need an action item on this?
No.
No. All
Just
right.
review.
Information only.
Yep.
Well, it says action, Pat.
Well, go ahead, put action.
It says action. So I'm going to move we accept this as the board's recommendation
evaluation.
for the evaluation. I'll make that
second.
motion. Second by Jennifer. Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes?
Yes. Okay. All right. Last item, plus Delta. What,
Our new screen.
new screen?
Yeah, I like
I'm going
that.
to go with the plus on that one. That's,
I like that, I'm looking, yeah.
I like it too.
Yeah, I think you ought to put another one over there. Keep
I
that
think it
one
should
in
be all
there.
over now.
Absolutely.
Improve that in
This thing in stereo.
Maybe we can get it on the mobile site or, no. We'll work on getting our sites up. What else?
Could you guys hear us in back? Throughout the whole meeting, you could hear us?
Don't ask Mark.
His is selective.
You know what? I think we
It's
can
not-
get you one of those systems. I mean, they have them everywhere.
So accommodation.
Yeah.
I think yours is just,
I'm only saying that because you tell on yourself all the time. I would never call you out on that.
What's your thoughts on the action item approach that we're taking now? It's very thorough.
I think it's good.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a good change. That's definitely a plus.
Now, we don't need to walk through it every time, but
No.
still, it does give you information, so, and so if there's anything that you need to improve, let us know about that, okay? And it's Pat's idea.
I'd
Okay, yeah.
I'd say as another plus, we've got students operating the television equipment.
Oh,
So
that's right.
that's a plus. I mean, not to say it wasn't done before, but it's good to give some experience in here too.
I just think our big plus is how we're empowering people.
Okay.
Decentralizing.
It's going to be fun.
Okay.
It's gonna be fun.
Any deltas, anything that we need to change for next time? We did talk about putting a screen on that side, but looks like you might need another monitor or another projector
I
too.
have a Delta, we're
Uh-huh.
not saying the Pledge of Allegiance correctly.
Oh, we're not?
So I will be
Okay.
telling you all how we're supposed to be doing it.
Okay.
Because my students taught me this at Irving. There is no comma between one nation under God.
Oh,
It's
okay,
one nation under God.
okay.
Yeah.
So,
Well, you got to take a breath in there somewhere.
Yeah.
I think it kind of naturally came that way.
but
Okay.
we learned that in Great
Okay.
Expectations when I was still on the
That's good.
elementary level.
Okay.
I thought it was
That's
good
the
that the
proper
foundation
way.
came, by the way.
Yeah, no, that was nice for them to come and to share what they're planning on doing. And it's informative too to know that their fundraiser's coming out.
Yeah.
So,
Yes, that was a big plus.
Well, and that they're
Loved
offering
hearing the
opportunities to teachers
Yep.
to.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's
Okay.
great.
all right, if there's nothing further, last motion I'd entertain to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
I will second that.
All right, so motion by Deb, second by Jennifer. Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes?
Yes. Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you, guys.
Good luck. Good luck. Good luck.
Good meeting.
Oh, you're